that. It just makes my heart happy to say the sizzle and it make it all sizzling. Jay, how you doing today?
Man, I'm feeling great, man. I ducked in, the raindrops. You know, I am brown sugar. When the rain hits me, I start to melt. So I just ducked in here and I'm good to go, man. How you feeling?
Hey man, I can't complain. It's nothing to complain about. It's a wonderful day, and we've got
Yeah.
a special guest today. So
Oh,
all
yes,
is
sir.
well in the neighborhood. All is good. We've got Kenneth Davis from CBS Sports, the host of the Under the Hood podcast. He is the man. He's the one who's going to be telling us everything we need to know about the Chicago Bears, about Justin Fields, about what the Bears are going to do in a really soggy week. See what I did there? Soggy, like the okay. I thought it was pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay. See, you know what? That's why I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm not even going to fool with you anymore. So
Yeah.
listen, before we get ready to get started, ladies and gentlemen, before we bring on our guest, we're going to have a full house tonight, but something I want you to see. Let's just see this in talking about our guest that's coming on today and see.
Listening to the Sizzle.
Trevor Simeon, who, like Josh said, played through an injured oblique, but prior to the game, wasn't sure if he was going to start.
All right. So listen, if you haven't heard of Kenneth Davis, if you haven't seen him, if you haven't checked out his work, if you don't know anything about sports media, especially in the Chicago market, first of all, shame on you. That's shame on you and shame on your friends. That's number one. Number two, you got to always figure out who's going to be in the building. You know who's going to be in the building. Man, listen, it's going to be Malcolm. You know A Train's in the building. It's going to be Jay. You know he's in the building. And we're getting ready to bring on our guest. Everybody, we ready? You ready? It's a lot of people, man. Y'all ready? Okay, now don't act like I didn't say, are you ready? So without any further ado, you know who it is. It's Ken Davis here on the Sizzle. Ken, how are you doing this evening? How's everything with you, man?
I'm well, man. It's nice to finally see you face to face, Greg and Jay. And Malcolm, I'm glad to be on your show and had this opportunity to talk a little bit of Bears with you guys.
Yeah, man, we're really excited to have a chance to really sit down, talk to you, be able to just chop some things up and figure out, what's going on as far as this Bears thing is going. And I don't know, man, it's been a rough week. It was a rough week, not only injuries wise, but it was a rough week as we got ready to move into the game. And now it seems like it's even a worse week as things are going and moving forward. So, with all that said, man, okay, let's get into the crux of it. Let's get into the Bears. I know that you covered the Bears. And in fact, you probably know the Bears better than anyone else. You got a full understanding of the Bears. So at this point, let's just ask the first question. After what you've seen so far to this point in the season, is Justin Fields the quarterback for the future for the Chicago Bears? Is he the one that you're putting all your chips on right now?
Hell yes. And listen, but the best part is to be able to say that with confidence now, especially when you look at the fact that he's injured. And I always use the comp of the situation the 49ers are in with a player drafted higher than Justin, and that's Trey Lance. And the 49ers don't know what they have in Trey Lance, and they're going to have to wait till next year, in year 3 of his rookie deal, to hope that he's that man. Well, prior to Justin getting hurt, we finally found out he is that guy. And where I thought that there would be ebbs and flows when it started clicking for Justin, there's still a large part of his game to improve, particularly passing. But I thought it was going to go like this, and it just basically went like this until he got hurt in that last game, primarily. I have supreme confidence. Justin himself and Luke Getsy, they took that option off the table where I don't think the Bears would have drafted a quarterback this year regardless. I think they would have. Well, you know what? I can't say that depending on how this draft pick may be. But I know in their heart of hearts, their preference was not to have to waste that pick on a player that perhaps they already have from the prior regime just 1 year in, now going into a second year. I mean, I think the trade for Chase Claypool, and again, now looking at that second round pick and how bad the season is, I'm sure some people are going to be like, yo, I want it back. And that's understandable. But it was really to fill out the wide receiver room because free agency, when it comes to wide receivers, is poor this upcoming offseason. But you saw the commitment there that we're doubling down on Justin. So again, yeah, Justin is the future. When you even let's just, and I hate to actually say this because I don't think it's going to happen. Even if Justin was just the player he is right now, there are teams that would fiend to have him on their squad. You know, just a guy that can go out and get 1 or 2 touchdowns through the air, 1 to 2 touchdowns on the ground consistently every game. There are teams that would cut off their arm just to have that compared to where you hope Justin will be, especially looking at what Justin did at Ohio State. This is not his game from Ohio State. He was a guy that was winning from the pocket primarily at Ohio State, but he was surrounded by level 1 talent. You know what I'm saying? So when you see when they bring in a better offensive line, they bring in more weapons on the outside to see him be able to use that arm. Yeah, man, Justin's that dude. I mean, and it's a pleasure. And I mean, anybody in the Chicagoland area knows how hard it's been on our grandparents, basically, when it comes to quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've never really had a guy that was like, yo, when we go into this fight, whatever you pull out, I can pull out. And now it seems like we may actually have a player like that finally under center here in Chicago.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about it is you hear, and a Jets team that just came in, or we just went and saw it. If they had a Justin Fields at this point, I think they would have a better outlook. But, you know, to your point, and that's something interesting you said, if they had just held on for a week, I think their quarterback would have looked like he should have been the number 1 pick after what happened. I mean, it was just, to me, it was a complete debacle of epic proportions. And I'm sorry that it happened to the Bears the way it happened, but it's one of those things that just, it is what it is at this point. But let's put a pause in it. Let's put a pin in it real quick. If anybody, they don't know who you are and they don't know what you've done in the Chicagoland market, or they don't know what you've done as far as the sports landscape, can you explain to all the listeners who you are and what you do?
All right. My name is Kenneth Davis. You can follow me at That's Davis on all social media platforms. Currently, I work for NBC Sports Chicago. You can see me every Wednesday along with Josh Rock and Alex Shapiro at 5:30 p.m. on NBC Sports Chicago. So that's wherever you see your White Sox, wherever you see your Bulls, wherever you see your Blackhawks, that channel. You can see me on there on Wednesday and after some games. They're talking about Bears. I'm the host of the Bears Center podcast. I've been in a couple places. I was lucky enough to do spot duty at times with my former co-host Demaz at 670 The Score here in Chicago, a radio station that I grew up listening to. That's just me in a nutshell. Right now I'm a dude that talks Bears. Also, you can check me out talking Bears and a couple other topics on YouTube at That Davis Show. So subscribe. I'm going to start applying more attention to that on my independent side. I need to get on my independent grind more. I've been tied up with Bears and NBC, and I haven't been doing enough for the stuff on my That Davis Show. So check that out too. But that's basically me, a dude from the South Side, trying to live my life as best as I possibly can and talking some football and hopefully talking some winning football when after this season going into next year, if things are turned around properly.
You know, the saddest part is when you have one of these great interviews and then everything seems to be like a Bears season. It starts falling apart. You start having weather trouble. People start dropping signals and you're like, are you serious? Are you serious right now? But as the championship team we're going to just blaze on through. Jay, I hear you there. So you back with us?
Look, man, I had to get all my chip bucket in the right row, man. I got stuff. I got bales of wire going on over here. I got a helmet full of
plastic on my head, trying to get my antennas working. It's been crazy. But look, I heard you talking, Kenneth. I heard you talking about Justin Fields, and I've got my concerns, and I've been voicing these concerns since we got the young player a year ago. My first problem that I have is that I have yet to see a quarterback in the NFL who primarily gets most of his yardage by running the football be able to sustain that over an entire season, let alone a career, and get to and win the Super Bowl. I believe Justin Fields can make all the throws. I just believe that he needs to be more of a pocket passer. I don't believe that he can stay healthy and play this type of football for the next 5 to 6 or 7 years. I don't know if he can do it this way. Do you see his injury situation as being a negative for him as he goes along? Can he sustain this type of offense that we see him setting records, but can he continue to play like this in the NFL? That is my biggest concern.
It's funny. So we had on the show that's coming out tomorrow. So get it again where you get your podcast. You can also watch it at 5:30 p.m. on NBC Sports. Dominic Foxworth from ESPN on the day. And that was my question, because he was talking about how, he felt that they should gear things to Justin and look at some of the stuff they did at Ohio State. And I kind of brought up to him at what point, where do they have to balance out him running too often? Because Justin's going to scramble 7 times probably a game anyway. Now, if you throw on 10 to 12 design runs, now we're talking about 19 rushes a game for a quarterback. And he eloquently put this to where he said, how often do you see quarterbacks get hurt rushing? It's more guys rolling them or whatever. And it was pretty good, but then we got him. Because then it was like, well, Dak got hurt rushing. And then we named a few guys because I'm in line with you. And it's also not just about the getting injured aspect, which that's the chief in the room. It's longevity as a quarterback. Because what happens is guys like a Donovan McNabb, when he got traded to Washington, part of the reason he fell off the cliff, his body was shot. Cam Newton, first of all, Cam Newton is built like a tank. All right. Yeah. But we saw that after all that, after being used like a battering ram, he couldn't sustain a Pro Bowl level. All of us are old enough to remember Randall Cunningham. You can't sustain it. But I'll say this wasn't Justin's game in college. This wasn't Justin's game really here until they finally realized, listen, if we're going to win and he can do that, let's let him do it. Even if you think about last year, how the hesitancy and how Justin didn't know sometimes just to take off. Mm-hmm. Like he would be caught in between a lot of times, and he would either get stopped or have an unusually uncomfortable slide where he didn't kind of know the NFL speed and necessarily what he could do with his physical attributes as far as his legs go. But I'm with you. I mean, now over a season, we've seen it over a season. We've seen Lamar do it. We've seen Michael Vick do it. But we know in the long run, you can't win Super Bowls like this. Or at least, like, if you have one hot year and you're able to get through the playoffs, which is less likely when you're not winning from the pocket. I'm not saying it's impossible, but sustainable contending, running the football as a quarterback, I'd never see it happen unless a guy is built like LeBron James, as far as he never really gets hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't see it. So I agree along with you, Jay. He's going to have to win from the pocket, but it would be different if we hadn't seen him do it in college. You know what I'm saying? Like, we saw him in college primarily be a pocket passer who could run, and they kind of flipped the script, making him a runner and getting him out of the pocket. But also the offensive line is so bad, you would be doing him a disservice almost letting him stand behind that sieve and get tackled and sacked. But I'm with you. He has to win from the pocket. I think they want him to win from the pocket. And if they don't do their due diligence and we revisit this in 2 more seasons and this is still what he's doing, they're doing him a disservice because they're not doing this, putting the players around him to allow him to consistently win from the pocket.
And this is my contention, because I'm looking at Getsy right now. I don't think this was the offense he was going to run at the start of the year. And I think
No.
they morphed into this offense. You almost look like when the Ravens switched everything around for Lamar Jackson. So
Mhm.
now you're wondering if we can't win like this and we can't go for the long run with Justin Fields. We have a really interesting situation going on right now with the Bears. We know they're going to have the most cap money out there just about next year, and they're going to have a high draft pick. Here's my question now. I'm going to toss this out there to you. The Bears, it looks like I looked at from November 21st. It looked like the Bears could be picking third in the draft. I don't know if that's moved yet or not. I haven't looked at the metrics on that. If there's another young quarterback out there from, let's say, Ohio State that might be out there, is it possible that you think the Bears might draft a C.J. Stroud high like that and have a competition between him and Fields? Because, again, I think you and I are both agreeing on this. Long term, looking at Fields playing this type of quarterback, I don't know, is he capable of playing in the pocket? That's my biggest question with him. I think he has all the throws, but is he capable of playing in the pocket and playing NFL quarterback like we've seen him being played over the last 50 years? That's my question.
We'll see. I think he is, but I can't.
Yeah.
I'd be lying if I'm like, yes, facts, because we have to see it. We haven't seen him consistently win from the pocket. He was better at Ohio State than Stroud has been at Ohio State. But I'll say this: they're not drafting a quarterback.
Okay.
I don't even know if Justin still was playing the way he was playing at the beginning of the year. If they would have, I'm not going to say it would have been off the table, because you hope you're never this high in the draft again. And this is where you have to be if you want to get a quarterback. You have to be up here, because it's easier if you have to trade your pick. If already you're in the top 3, the top 4, top 5, it's a lot easier if I give you another number 1 to move up a couple of spots than it is to move up from the teens into number 1. So, but I think Justin, even if that was on the table, I think Justin clearly knocked it off the table. And when you look at all the pieces they need, it would be foolish. I guess one, it depends on what's somebody going to give you for Justin. Because now if you could tell me that you could hypothetically take Stroud and then flip Justin for another number 1, I don't know if I would be interested in that, because we've seen what Justin can do in the pros so far, and we haven't seen what Stroud can do in the playoffs. But they would be doing a disservice not to fill up as many spots. And look, really, I prefer if they move that down a few slots and let somebody come up and get a quarterback, so they could be like the Eagles and they could be like Miami, to where they could have a whole allotment of picks. But that's me playing GM. And you have some first-class D linemen coming out of Alabama and Georgia that you could put somebody on the opposite side of the other side of the field, and I'm talking about the defensive side, that can benefit Justin by giving other teams 3 and outs and giving him more bites at the apple on offense. You have to go out and get a generational player this high in the draft. And I don't know now, because one of the tackles that were coming out of Penn State, he's going back. I think the Bears, unless they trade back, they may have to overdraft a tackle, looking at where some of the tackles were going in the mock drafts. You know what I'm saying? Like there was only, I think, one in the top 7. And so now, are you going to overdraft a guy, or are you going to take the best available player? And they need, we've seen that pass rush is non-existent right now.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I would love to be like, yo, go out and get a wide receiver with the first round pick. But how many teams have won Super Bowls with, quote unquote, and I'm not saying they still don't need to go in the second round and get a top flight wide receiver, but how many teams win Super Bowls with the best or top receiver in the NFL? Like it's if you really go back and look at who's the top receiver and see how many have won Super Bowls, it's actually very few. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like you look at Randy didn't win one. You look at T.O. didn't win one. I'm just going over guys, and you look at Steve Smith didn't win one. I mean, OBJ wasn't a top receiver. He was out and got with the Rams, but he wasn't OBJ as OBJ anymore. So, now last year you had a chance that Jamar Chase may have pulled it off, but usually it doesn't happen. Now, by no means am I saying don't You still need to get a receiver in this draft, but you need to build out from the trenches. Anybody, I know it's not sexy, but you need to build out through the trenches, and either you need a pass rusher or you need an offensive lineman. Both can help Justin in one way or another.
You know, we have a lot of evidence of what is needed on the field. You see that the defense hasn't been able to stop anyone because of the porous line that they have. And the offensive line is getting better. I believe I'm a glass half full on seeing that they're working a system of what is the plan of the GM. But there are two players, and I want to ask your professional opinion. Now, you're looking at two defensive players. You're looking at Will Anderson and Jalen Carter. One being a linebacker, one being a defensive lineman. If you put on your GM hat right now, which one Keith, do you think will be the best fit for where the Bears are going to and what they need to do moving forward?
Kenneth, I'm roll tide all day, so I'm not the person you really should ask this question.
Yes, sir.
Because listen, Carter, definitely we know what Kirby guy has down there in Georgia.
Yeah.
But someone flying off the edge. Now I haven't watched Georgia Carter enough. Carter's a DT.
Mm-hmm.
Greg.
Yeah,
but
he's
now
a DT
I need to see,
and supposed to be one of the top nose in the draft, if not the top nose.
So the thing is, now really Matt Eberflus, and you look like DeForest Buckner with the Colts. Right. He's kind of shown he doesn't need the traditional three technique guy that we kind of grew up with. The Warren Sapps, the John Randalls, the Tommy Harris's, guys that are penetrators into the gap and disruptors, where you can have somebody as strong and big like a Calais Campbell and a DeForest Buckner type of guy. But if he's a nose tackle, I don't see that value being placed on him in a Tampa 2. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like for a nose tackle. Like if that's what his primary play is, nose tackle, that's high. And he gives you more value in a 3-4. But nowadays, how people flip through systems anyway, if he's a stud, he's a stud. So I would probably go with the Alabama kid, just having someone pure off the edge. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, just go get it. And we can start with that. You know what I'm saying? If he rolls out the bus with 10 sacks in the season, at least now other teams every week have to key in on stopping him. And it's given maybe a single to if Justin Jones is still the 3 technique, it's benefiting him. It's helping a Dominique Robinson on the other side. I think Dominique Robinson may be good one day. But it's kind of helping them in general. So I would probably go with the Alabama kid. My mind's drawing a blank on his name right now, but I would probably go with him if Carter's a nose tackle primarily.
Will Anderson is the Alabama edge. He's Will Anderson Jr. A lot of comparisons to him with some of the players that you've had here at the Bears as outside linebackers. I think his primary spot is going to be outside linebacker. I don't know. That's why I ask you. And I thought it was good to bring. But he's an edge rusher.
But in that system, it's not like, for instance, outside linebacker here, where you're talking about, and that could be incorrect, where you're talking about like what they were asking Roquan to do. It's much more like what we were asking Robert Quinn and Khalil Mack to do, is primarily. And now this is a 4-3, so we're not even really asking you to drop into coverage. Now that's a benefit because I know he's somewhat slight. It's a benefit that if sometimes you want to use him in some type of zone play and you want just to try to scheme up and throw the opposing team off, but you're going to put him at the edge, the edge rush, and primarily use him as a guy to go get the quarterback. And then your other edge rusher is probably going to be a guy that looks more like a run stopper or something like that. It would probably be what they would do.
Yeah, I thought about it, and as I looked at it, Ken, I was looking at all of the things that put that together, and I'm looking at, in fact, funny enough that you mentioned it, because the two players that he was mentioned as a comp to, one of them happens to be a former Bear, and I will not say his name now that he's no longer here. I will not mention his name, but he's a great player, and I think if that's your comp, if you're looking at him as a comp, if you're talking about the anywhere from the second to the fourth pick.
Who we talking about, G? Who's the comp? Who you talking about?
No, I won't. I'm not going to say his name. You know
What
why
team
I'm
does
not
he
going
play
to say
for
his
now?
name.
What team does he
He
play
plays
for
for
now?
San Diego. Yes, and he came from the Bears. Anybody who's a former Bears, I no longer mention their name.
Okay.
So you throwing shade is what you're saying.
I'm just saying. I mean, he's a great guy, and he was a good guy. I'm just not going to mention his name. I mean, there's a comp to him, but then there are other comps to him also that go back to some of the 49ers linebackers who did well in the league. So if I'm looking at that pick, if you're telling me that the Bears are moving into that, I don't know. Can they make it up to that first pick?
I mean, I think Lovey may have that bad boy locked up right now, looking at how bad the Texans are. You know what I'm saying? So I have to see the Texans schedule, but I don't see the Texans probably getting another win. But and also right now, I can honestly say if Justin's hurt, I don't really see the Bears getting another victory either.
No.
But yeah, I think the Texans may have the first pick locked up.
Now, hey, Ken, I'm thinking with this now. I'm looking at this Bears football team, and this is not a sieve. We got holes everywhere. We have a defense that's basically non-existent right now. This is probably one of the worst defenses I've seen out there now. We understand that two of their top guys got traded away, but the issue is now, and we know they have a boatload of cap money, but are we reaching too far? I mean, everybody's got a lot of hope on next year. They're like, man, this is it. You know, we're going to be trudging through the NFC North. We see the Packers now, they're starting to fall away. We got opportunity now. We got our quarterback. Is it too many holes to fill right now? I mean, because the only thing that's really solid right now that we can really count on, we think, is our quarterback. If you look back at our running back position right now, these guys can stay healthy. You're looking back there, seeing we look at our wide receivers. We have a number 2. Who our number 3 is and our number 1 right now, we're not exactly sure, especially with Mooney going down being injured. Where do you think is the first place the Bears need to fill? And after that, where are they going after that?
Listen, they're not going to finish, and they're not going to spend that whole $100 million next offseason. And they probably should.
Wow.
You know, because you never know what you may need money for the following season. And you don't know if you're going to take that leap. Now, right now is the time because it's Justin's rookie contract. But what happened is you have Ryan Poles. He ripped it down to the studs. You know, football, you can flip it around quickly. Excuse me. But as you said, Jay, they have a ton of holes. They have to go out and get a weak side linebacker. Right. So that's one. Now, are they going to look to just for somebody in the league to fill that spot and maybe go out in next year's draft? Or are they going to look at perhaps a 3rd or 4th round pick, somebody that again, the fact that off-ball linebackers don't have the same value that they had years ago, and bring him in and groom him to be that guy that's going to have the weak side and everything funneled in his direction. So we know they need that. I'll say this. One of the best things is that they basically solved the secondary issue, even though they need to go out and get another cornerback. Because Kendall Vildor needs to be pushed down into the depth, and either you need to. And if you're cool with Gordon, and I'm happy how Gordon has turned it around. They were asking a lot of that kid to play the slot his rookie year.
That's true.
You're gonna leave him there. You got to go out and get somebody to go on the opposite side of Jalen. But that's really one spot. And going into last year prior to the draft, we were like all they had was one player, and that was Jalen. Because who knew that you were going to have Bojack and Eddie Jackson have this type of resurgent year? I didn't expect that to take place. How many years he had where he wasn't the same player as he was in the past. So now at least the back half is straight. You can deal with Jack Sanborn being your middle linebacker next year. I don't know if I'm for Jack Sanborn for the long haul, but I
got my hand on my heart.
I am for the type of depth that he can provide you, like a Nick Kwiatkowski provided you when Danny Trevathan went down. Like you got to have, and also special teams. You see him on special teams. Like you need guys like that when somebody gets hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like a DHC. You know, like the guys that they have in the safeties. Like when they get hurt, and DeAndre Houston Carson can pop in there for a game. You need, and that's what I mean with Sanborn. But he can play. I'm not so like, yo, this is Jack Sanborn. You know, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm still saying you found like that guy's an unsigned draft pick who can actually go out there and play. So you don't have to next year say, all right, and we got to find a Mike. You know what I'm saying? Like you could say, all right, we'll give you another chance next year. And if you're not that guy, I'm gonna look in the middle rounds for me and Mike. You know what I'm saying? Like or at least somebody I can group. Really, it's that on defense, it's that front four in the linebacker that you really have to key in on. Is Justin Jones the guy at your 3 technique? Because if he's not really that guy, you have to get that guy for this defense to rush properly. And along with that guy, you need an edge rusher. Any place you saw the 3 technique guy popping, usually the second thing you had with Tony Dungy, they went out and they got Simeon Rice to go alongside Warren Sapp. Here in Chicago, you already had Alawale Ogunleye being that edge rusher guy. Then you brought in Tommy Harris, then doubled up and went and got Tank Johnson or Williams, whatever the hell his last name was. But you went and got him in the second. Thank you. The second round of that same draft because Lovey was like, "Yo, I need this to make this engine go." So that's where you need to look as far as the defensive side. On offense, I don't know what free agent tackles are out there. You need to go sign you one. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like this whole offensive line can't be makeshift of 5th rounders and all that. At least now, and I don't know why they play with Tevin Jenkins the way that they play with Tevin Jenkins. You got to guard, all right? Even though
leave him alone.
I'll be leave him alone. You know, you have a guard. I don't know who and what Lucas Patrick will be. All right. Cody Whitehair isn't the same Cody Whitehair as a few years ago, but at least right now he's serviceable. I don't see what I'm not giving Braxton Jones nowhere near the opportunities he had this year. Like this, his best shot for me would be on the right side, competing against whoever's on the right side because I'm paying for that left tackle. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't fix everything through the draft. And then I guess the flip side would be if you did go lineman in the draft, your 1st round pick, then you better go and buy the defensive edge rusher or 3 technique guy. And with the free agency, that's how you have to kind of go. That's where the big dollars need to be spent on whatever you don't do in that first couple of rounds in the draft. You need to go out, but also you have to factor in what's open in free agency. Like we know, wide receivers, it was weak in this upcoming free agency for wide receivers. That's part of the reason they traded their 2nd round pick for Claypool because they're like, well, Claypool is as good or as better or as any of the guys that we can get in free agency, so let's just bring him in and give him a year and a half till we decide if we're going to re-sign him. And you still need to go out and get another receiver. But at least, and now I'm not saying that Claypool answers it, at least you added depth because if they didn't, we'd be like they had to go out and get 2 receivers. You know what I'm saying? And so, again, that's how I view it and how I would combat it. They got a lot of holes, and it's going to take more than one season to fix all these holes that they have at all these positions.
You know, we had some of the viewers who've asked some questions, and those who are listening are asking questions about Justin. But one of the ones I thought that was most interesting was my man Shmoo said, what about Michael Vick? They tried to make him a pocket pass, and he was not effective. I agree that the body takes toll, but you got to run the ball. So to Jay's point, he can't survive. But on the other side, the thought is, if you have him as a effective runner and you build the line around him, maybe you use that as a dual threat. I don't see where it's been effective in the league. I don't see where it's really effective for Lamar Jackson being one of the most prolific. But if you can get him somewhere between Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson,
hold on there.
You got something.
Hold on there. Jalen Hurts is a different animal. All right, this was a guy who I did not see him popping like this. I mean, this is a guy who is putting the ball on people from in the pocket. Now, he does take off and run, but this is a different animal right here. This guy was not this guy 2 years ago. He has really developed into something that we hope Justin Fields could turn into. Jalen Hurts is amazing to me. I mean, you tell a guy who's been bounced around, Oklahoma, bounced around. He was sort of pushed aside, and somewhere or another he found that mojo and is moving right now. And he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. So this is a guy who's learned to deliver the ball from the pocket, also use his feet and move. And he's a big guy. You're talking 240 pounds worth of man moving quick out there. Here's the issue, though, that you have with the Bears right now is that with Poles has to be right on 85% of these picks. He's got to be right all the way across the board. Because if he misses, say he misses on an edge rusher, if he misses on a defensive lineman, this could set the Bears back another 2 or 3 years. He only has so much money, as Kenneth was talking about, that he's going to use for free agency. And we know the number's going to keep going up in free agency. So the issue is right now with the Bears, can Poles, who has stripped this thing down to the studs, just like Kenneth said, can he rebuild it? Do we believe that he can do that? Kenneth, what do you think about that? Do you believe that he can get this done? Is he in over his head? Because some of these moves he made, giving up the linebacker. I mean, I know he was misty about his favorite guy leaving, but that was a tackling machine for us. And he set him up packet. Is this a guy who is pulling the trigger too quickly and he left the hopper just too bare?
Until it's done, I can't say, like, I can't certify him. Like I would be negligent to be like, man, Ryan Poles, hell yeah, because this is his first bite at the apple. How he operates, I think he can get it done. That week before the trade, actually like the episode prior to the trade, I said, yo, I'm not signing Roquan. I'm not giving him $100 and something million because, I mean, again, in a 3-4 back, not going with the Ravens, he's gonna kill. You know what I'm saying? Like, as a true middle linebacker in a 3-4, he's a beast, right? But as a weak side linebacker in the Tampa 2, he was. I think he could be really good, but really good. I knew there were going to be times I'd be like, man, they could do something else with that 20-something mil. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that Ryan Poles decided, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna go out on my shield. I'm not gonna sit here and come in and try to half-ass it where I hold on to players from a regime that couldn't get it done, when I know that if I keep it intact in a way and try to make a makeshift type of team, it's not going to contend, right? Like, if I want to give myself the best chance for success, I have to get rid of the cap money that here and don't take the hits now so I don't have them in the future. I think he's very calculated, and I think he's very smart. I wish he would have gotten Justin O lineman or two prior to camp. Like, if he would have brought in Michael Schofield and Riley Reef prior to camp and gave them a real chance to, because all Justin needed was bodies. I mean, as far as right now, he doesn't need them to be excellent. Now, moving forward, we need you to bring in better offensive linemen around him. But just saying, like, this year, because you could have gotten Justin, and you could be gotten Justin hurt with having this lackluster offensive line in front of him. Now, for Schmo, I'll say this. Remember this. Michael Vick's, really, when Michael Vick clicked and got it right was when he was an Eagle. And when he was an Eagle, he was winning from the pocket. He was winning from the pocket a lot.
Absolutely.
He wasn't running.
Absolutely.
After that stint, he wasn't running the same. He wasn't the same freakish athlete. So even with Michael Vick, for Michael Vick to really become the player that he became towards the end of his career, when he said that, I was in the playbook, I was in the film room. Because I used to remember when he was in Atlanta, I remember watching Michael Vick in Atlanta, and they was talking to him about Peyton Manning, and he was like, man, I'm not going to be in the film room like Peyton Manning. And I remember thinking, like, even if you believe that, that's the dumbest thing to come out of your mouth, right? Like, if you see where that preparation has gotten him, and you're off the chart. So if you added that prep to you, imagine what you would be, but you're like, nah, whatever. But you saw wisdom and, have to be set down. He came back with such vigor to learn and become better. And I mean, for a minute, if he would have stayed healthy for a minute in Philly, that bad boy was clicking when he got to Philadelphia. But yeah, I think that kind of answers your questions, Jay, as far as Ryan Poles and what to expect. I mean, I like the fact what he did, but I knew going in it was going to hurt. And I think that's the problem with a lot of Bears fans is we're wounded anyway because we're Bears fans.
Yes.
And you get tired of being neglected and abused. But sometimes you do. But sometimes you got to, cut off your nose to spite your face. And that's what he did with trading a player away that shall not be named to San Diego and trading it was because it was to get this going fast and quick rather than, okay, so then we after 2 years and it doesn't hurt, you cut said player in San Diego, but now you've wasted all that time. You didn't get a second round pick, which turned out to be Brisker and turned out to be Kyler Gordon. You may have gotten pieces now that help you down the line, and also you've added cap space that you didn't have. So I'm with it, but that still doesn't mean he's going to be the guy to figure it out. This is his first crack at the apple. I think a lot of teams wanted him to be their general manager. I think he is extremely detailed, and I think he's the guy to do it, but I have to see him do it to believe it.
Yeah, we're in a instant offense, an instant championship league right now. Nobody's happy about winning the NFC North. Nobody's even really happy about being the NFC champions. This Super Bowl a bust right now in the NFL, And so I'm just interested in seeing how this is going to turn. I know so many Bears fans I've talked to. They're like, next year is our year. We're going to get it done. And I'm like, hold on there. Hopeful, rein in the horses. This is going to be a long ride. We're going to be well into Justin Fields' second contract before we really get a chance at the championship, because we still have a lot of things to pull together, especially like you said, Kid, that offensive line. We got to get this offensive line together, because if we don't take care of that, it doesn't matter what we do anywhere else. We won't keep this kid healthy, and then we're back at the drawing board again.
Year 3 is when we should know, like, yo, they got something. Because it's Justin's in his 4th year at that point, even though you kind of can't count last year because of Matt Nagy and all of that stuff that took place, but still he's in his 4th year. Now you've had 2 drafts and 2 free agency periods, actually 3 free agency periods now and 3 drafts to assemble this squad, and a lot of those holes should be closed by the 3rd year. You know what I'm saying? So like, by the 3rd year, we should know if Ryan Poles is that guy. You know what I'm saying? Because the talent that should be on this roster, it should be talent. The roster should be talent ridden, and the only question should be how you're accessing and using that talent. So I will say it's still, you're right as far as Justin. As far as maybe winning the Super Bowl, Justin will maybe in the beginning of his second contract. But as far as knowing if you're moving in the right direction, we should know sooner rather than later, because you have all this money, and also this too. The NFC is trash.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Think about dude, after the Eagles, who else? Oh man, like
nobody.
None of us.
No one.
Yeah, who's counting on Kirk Cousins? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, now I count on Justin Jefferson, but I don't count on Kirk Cousins. You know what I'm saying? Like. So you got the Eagles and a whole conference. Like, you look at the AFC, everybody and their mama has quarterbacks over there, right? So if you finally have a quarterback in Chicago, and now he can put up, think about, they couldn't score over 19 points last year. They couldn't average over 19 points last year. They was putting up 30 burners and losing, right? Like, if you got a kid that can put you to where y'all can score 30 a game, dog, all the defense needs to do is make sure you don't score over that. Like, it's a lot easier once you have the remedy, which seems like the Bears have under center at quarterback. Because I'll say it like this. Now, if they didn't have a quarterback who looks like he could be a star, if not a superstar, then you're trying to do a lot. The NFC is still wide open, but you still have to. We got a really good defense. At quarterback, we got some stopgap guy who we can't depend on to go and win the game. We just don't want him to mess it up, and that you don't give yourself enough margin of error. Now, if Justin is that dude, the margin of error you give yourself is, I don't want to say vast, but man, it's pretty wide when you look at the fact that the Eagles are the only team that really should worry you as far as hindering anybody from getting to the Super Bowl in the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, and this is where you look right now. that you have to put the tools around Justin Fields right now to get it done. I mean, you look at that Orlando Brown out of KC, he's going to be coming up for free agency next year. He's going to cost you $20-odd million to play left tackle, but you're going to have to pay a left tackle to come play and protect Justin Fields. This is the time to go do it. That's why I'm excited about this cap money that we have. My biggest thing is I think we're going to have to spend money on that left tackle side, go get the best guy. We might even have to overpay for it. It is what it is on that one. We got to keep them upright. I think we can pick and choose our money on defense. It's much easier to throw some money at defense and get impact guys and go out there and ball out. But the offensive side, we got to put the right pieces in there. We got to spend the money up front. And we can keep this kid upright. Like you said, we might have a kid who is our own Jalen Hurts. And that's my hope right there. Is that this guy becomes Jalen Hurts, that we see him, he can make every throw out there. There's not a throw he can't make. My biggest thing with him, can he read more than half the field at one time?
Facts.
You know?
Facts. But look, you know what? That's what they were saying about Jalen Hurts last year.
True.
And everybody was saying, you know what, they have to shorten the field for Jalen Hurts. And now you see him reading down the middle of the field. And even to piggyback your point, and I love the fact that Jalen Hurts went to Oklahoma with Lincoln Riley, and because Lincoln Riley was just bringing in transfer portal quarterbacks, and you want a Heisman, you want a Heisman, you want a Heisman. It was just, I'm happy that he went there, and you see how it benefited him. But he wasn't the guy, the passer that that Justin was in college. You know what I'm saying? So again, but that now I don't want to disrespect Jalen because Jalen has gotten himself to this point. But look at what Justin was in his pedigree in college compared to Justin. Not to say that Justin wasn't one of the top ranked kids, but he wasn't the pocket passer. I'm a roll tide guy. It was always like, yo, Jalen can run this rock around, but when it comes to accuracy and winning from the pocket, you knew that was going to be a problem as far as Jalen. And look what he did. But also look at what the Eagles did when they said, yo, we're going to find out if you that guy, and go out and you drafted Devontae Smith. Then you go out and you trade for A.J. Brown. You know what I'm saying? Like they put like, because that shores up a lot, you know what I'm saying, where you have all this tremendous talent around you. So that's also to the point that we're saying is what they have to do for Justin is surround him with the talent to help his passing game improve.
And you also look at what the Eagles did on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, they have corners out there and they keep reloading. I mean, you see guys like, where'd they find that guy? I mean, I thought he was at home with the kids. You know, all of a sudden you got
Ndamukong Suh off the street.
Yeah, off the street. I mean, that scared me when I saw him. I'm like, oh my God, they got a Ndamukong Suh too. You know, so that's the thing that we got. You got to give Justin a very good defense that's going to take the ball away, that's going to get some quick 3-and-outs, so we give him more time, more offensive snaps. Justin's the type of guy who's going to wear on you. You know, if you give him the offensive snaps, because after a while, nobody can spy him. I don't put a linebacker back there. He's going to run past your linebacker. There's nobody going to spy him. So you're going to have to bring a corner. You're going to have to, even a safety doesn't really have a chance to spy Justin Fields. If he has you in the open field, he's going to break you down. So by that point, about them having to spy, that means we get one less defender in the defensive backfield. This should open up the passing game for Justin Fields. So the whole key to it is right now is that they have to build around him to make him able to use the things that he's really good at and play action. I think that's where that's going to be his bread and butter. It's going to be play action. Let them have to step up. They have to worry about him. Now we got to play 11-on-11 football. And because of that, he should get some one-on-one opportunities on the outside. Now we got to get Claypool making these catches. We got to go find a number one guy who will go get the football for you. And we need a burner. We need 4-4. I mean, a legit 4-4 out there to stretch the field. You see what the Cheetah is doing down there in Miami, right? All of a sudden now Tua, who people had doubts about Tua last year. Let's remember that now. I'm not really sure about Tua. All of a sudden he is the absolute man. Why? Because you got 4-3 sprinting downfield, taking the top off of a defense. This is what Jalen Hurts needs. I mean, not Jalen Hurts. I call him Jalen Hurts. I hope we get that. This is what Justin Fields needs right now, is a guy who's going to take the top off of a defense and give him some opportunity to make those throws underneath.
I agree.
It is. It's an agreement that we all have come to. And if you're just joining us, I know some people have just jumped on. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and share. And you're listening to the Sizzle with our special host today and guest today, because he's hosting the whole thing. He's running what we're doing now. He's running the point of this Justin Fields thing as we try and navigate what is going on with Justin Fields and what's not going on. So if you haven't, make sure that you're following Kenneth Davis, host of the Under Center podcast. Ken, as we get ready to move into week 13, the big game that was supposed to be the, I guess, showdown of showdowns was Green Bay and Chicago. At this point, with injuries, the question of what's going on with the quarterback in Green Bay. As you notice, I don't call anybody's name if you're not on the Chicago Bears right now. I don't care if Will Anderson is great, if he becomes Khalil Mack, even though, yes, I'll say it. So if he becomes Khalil Mack, then I'll say his name. But what you've got right now going on in Green Bay, you've got question marks around their team as they're heading into week 13. And you still have question marks around the Bears at this point of who's going to be starting and what's going to happen. How do you see week 13, especially for the Chicago Bears playing out against the Green Bay Packers?
As an L.
Wow.
I mean, hold that L. I mean, look, if they had Justin, I'll be like, yo, it's a chance, man. Like, I mean, it goes back to like we actually saw what the talent is that's surrounding Justin last week. And also, real quick, I want to say this when Jay was talking about the running backs. Let's not forget that David Montgomery is going to be a free agent after this season.
Are you going to pay the money? And are you going to pay the money for him?
I don't think they will.
If someone's going to overpay for him, I mean, you want what's best for him. Because he was a third-round pick. It's not like he got first-round cash when he came into the league. But as far as this game, what Green Bay can be ran on, this defense, I expected this Green Bay defense, with the additions they made through free agency and the draft, I expected for them to be a lot better than they've been this season. The Bears can't stop the run, and here comes Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Oh, no. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, last 3 to 4 weeks, Christian Watson has woken up, and all he can do is score touchdowns, right? And then we're not even sure if Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker are going to be out of the concussion protocol. So you're talking about your defensive backfield as thin as you know what. You know what I'm saying? Eddie Jackson is probably gone. Like I haven't even mentioned that yet since Eddie Jackson's out, right? So now your ball hawk is out. So you don't even have the guy in the back that can flip the field as far as getting a turnover. And you can't pressure the quarterback. So, like, I don't see what the hell they can do against the Pack. And I'll say this, regardless of who's playing behind that center with Green Bay, even though Aaron Rodgers seems like he's going to play. And then as Aaron Rodgers coming to Chicago, come on, you know he's going to be talking. The trash talk is going to come out of his mouth. It's going to be something crazy. So, I don't like saying it. I wish the Bears could flip this, and the Green Bay is going to if they win this game, they have the most wins in this rivalry. But if Justin becomes the guy that we hope Justin's going to be, the Bears can get that record back. And it's crazy when you think about it. Aaron Rodgers is primarily the reason that Green Bay now has caught up to the Bears as far as wins, because he's so lopsided in beating the Bears compared to even with Brett Favre. Brett Favre owned the Bears until Lovey got here. Then Lovey basically owned Brett Favre, But like because of Aaron Rodgers kicking the crap out of the Bears, now Green Bay is about to take the all-time wins in this rivalry. But again, I think they can get it back. But to answer your question, Green Bay's gonna win. All right, like it's unless something miraculous happens, the Bears don't have that special player that they had that could keep them in any game that we saw. Like that was the thing about, and Justin was playing some really good teams. A couple of those teams. You look at Dallas. I didn't even know Dallas had a 6'4" safety at the back. Like, just what? And then go along with Michael Parsons and Lawrence. Like you just see, he went up against those guys and almost took it from Dallas. They don't have him here, so I don't see how they can contend against a team that isn't as good as it's been the last several years under Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers, especially with Devontae Adams leaving. But they're still better than the Bears are right now. And also they're playing to get into the playoffs, even though I think we all expect they're not going to make the playoffs. They're still playing to get into the playoffs. So, I mean, I have nothing good to say when it comes to the Bears versus the Packers this upcoming game. I apologize.
Hey, Ken, do you think it's time for Jordan Love time up there in Green Bay? Have we seen the best of Aaron Rodgers? We know he chased off the best wide receiver they've literally ever had up there.
Right.
And we saw what he couldn't do with this roster that he had. Is it time for Jordan Love now to step in and take the helm up there?
If it was me, yes. I'm sick. Look, first of all, let me say this. Unfortunately, I have had an affinity for Aaron Rodgers. I'm just being honest. All right.
Okay.
It started because Brett Favre beat it to me. He beat it into me where growing up, you hate Green Bay. And then it's like, damn, this gunslinger, and also I'm already watching Sterling Sharp. So then this kid comes there and he's throwing the ball all around or whatever. Sterling gets hurt. I'm not like, can this kid continue to do it? The kid kept getting better. And I'm talking about Brett Favre. And then you see Aaron Rodgers fall in the draft and you see how he was throwing under Tedford at Cal. And then you watch the preseason games. You're like, damn, this kid got an arm. He didn't seem like he had an arm coming out in the draft. And you see him every preseason. You see Aaron Rodgers, and you're like, yo, I think they may have a little something. And he comes in, and in his first year, you're like, oh, yo, I think he may be better than Brett Favre. Like that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So to get to the Jordan Love aspect, listen, I'm in Chicago, and I'm tired of Aaron Rodgers' antics. And I was a person that I'm an Aaron Rodgers guy, but I'm sick and tired of his, to say the least. Right? Like
shenanigans. Yes, sir.
Yeah. But this is the thing. The dead cap money. Yeah. They would break the record. They just gave him a fresh deal. They will break the record in dead cap money if they traded him. Now, this is what I said. We had Annie Agar from Bally Sports on today. She's a Packers fan, but also, she hosts and she's on Bally or whatever. But I was saying this. I would do everything in my power to piss Aaron Rodgers off the court, make him retire from a Green Bay. I would be poking that bear every damn day to get him to retire. Like, and I tell him, we're not trading you. I keep messing with him, like, we're not going to trade you. We're not going to trade you. We're not going to trade you, just to see if I could pull it off. Even though I'm sure he would. Aaron Rodgers is too much of an ass to sit there and let you get away with that. But you need to move off of him. But you got to look at it like this. That team is built with him now to win. Like, look at all that stuff they did for the defensive side. They just didn't expect the collapse without Devontae Adams. They didn't respect Devontae Adams. Because they respect him, they would have signed him prior to last season. And you would have had him under contract already. You kept going to mess around, and you wanted to attach him to Aaron Rodgers, because what they were going to do is, well, if Aaron leaves, we're not going to really try to win. We're going to sit there and, I'm not saying they're going to tear it down because they had Jordan Love, but they were still looking at the assets they would have had. They could have, think about the draft picks they could have got if they traded Aaron Rodgers and they traded Devontae Adams. You know what I'm saying? And then they don't have to give Devontae Adams this record-setting contract. They can redo that with young receivers like they did now, where it's like, we don't have to pay them right now. We have to pay them in the future or whatever. I think that was kind of why they were hesitant to pay Devontae, because they didn't know what was going to happen with Aaron, and they kind of viewed them as a tandem as far as, if we're giving him a contract, we're going to give him a contract. You should have just gave Devontae his money, because now you see how important he was to Aaron Rodgers and your team, and the Matt LaFleur, who was viewed as a genius prior to this season. You messed yourself up by not doing that, because that team is a win now team. It's not a team like, if you look at the running backs, look at the defense. I know the offensive line has been banged up, and look at Aaron Rodgers. If they now, and then the receiver, the wide receiver free agency, as we've talked about here, is weak. So you can't even find that player in free agency. What they're going to have to do, if they're going to continue down this road with Aaron Rodgers, they're going to have to take a first-round pick or something and do basically what Philadelphia did with the Tennessee Titans, or look at what Miami did with the Kansas City Chiefs when they traded for Tyreek Hill, and when the Titans, when the Eagles traded for A.J. Brown. They're going to have to trade to go get a legit showstopper to help Aaron Rodgers. Now, look, Christian Watson may be better next year, but will he be a good enough player to be counted on to go to the Super Bowl when you guys still haven't been able to get to the Super Bowl with Devontae Adams in the fold?
Well, here's the problem, though, is they let Aaron Rodgers put his locker up there in the front office, and they start asking him what he thought about it. And I believe he convinced him that he could win without Devontae Adams. And you saw him not do what one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time, as soon as I say his name, Greg is going to holler and scream. The great one, the GOAT down there at Tampa Bay. But you saw what Tom Brady was able to do, that he was taking pay cuts and he was moving his money around so that he could get people paid. You didn't see that happen with Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers believed, because of the quirky guy that he is, I can get it done myself. I don't even know who these guys are. Put some tape on their helmet. That's Jones, that's Jackson, whoever they are. I'm going to go out there and make them better. And we saw that didn't really come through for him this year. And I don't know if he really has the want to now to put in that type of effort. You see, Aaron Rodgers is a different cat. I mean, he's even his own family don't like him. So he's got some issues going on. I just don't know if he's willing, especially when you got all the money. When you got enough money, you don't really have – there's very few Kobe's in his life. There's very few Tom Brady's in his life who just can't walk away from the game. I'm wondering if Aaron Rodgers is that guy who is willing to develop players around him, or he can develop players. I'm not sure, because definitely he should have figured out a way to keep Devontae Adams up there, because they fell apart. As soon as Devontae Adams got on the plane, you saw the Packers start going down the drain. Yeah, I rhymed that. That did that pretty good, didn't I?
Yeah, okay. We saw what you did there. Yes, we all were. Yes, we were very aware. Yay, Jay Sizzle.
You know, that's what I do.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations, my friend. So, okay, before we get ready to get out of here, Ken, I know that you've given us perspective on not only the Bears, but perspective on what ownership and what management has in store in the future. But give us just a plain overview of, if you had to pick right now, from what you've seen so far at week 13, who are your Super Bowl contenders, pretenders? Who is that's going to come out with the championship at the end of the year?
The Eagles are going to be there, and Baby Goat is going to win his second Super Bowl. While we're talking about goats, I have to mention Baby Goat before we get out.
Yeah.
He plays in Kansas City. His father pitched for the Twins.
Mm-hmm.
He lost one of the best receivers in the NFL, and he's just turning up. Every year he's in the AFC Championship.
You can say his name.
I just did. I said Baby Goat. That's his name. So
Hey,
I'm respect. He's not. Go ahead.
You can give us his jersey name. It's okay.
Patrick Mahomes.
There you
Patrick
go.
Mahomes.
You know what? Don't nobody need the Patrick. We know who he
Mahomes,
is. He's Patrick
baby.
Mahomes.
He's that guy. He's him.
He about to go. Yes, he's him. And man, he can't miss. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, man, is doing his dog. Tyreek Hill left. People was like, man, it's gonna take him like a year. It's gonna take them a year.
Right.
They were probably like, yo, give me him. We're gonna do this differently. We don't even have to blow the top off. I just need guys that can catch all around me, and I'm gonna do my dizzle. Like, it's gonna be, I think, but I'll say this. I'm fearful of any of the teams in the AFC that we view as being contenders, because there's so many good teams in the AFC. Chances are one of them gets knocked out before. So even with me rooting and saying that it's going to be Kansas City, it wouldn't surprise me if a team like Cincinnati or Miami took them out prior, just because it's still any given Sunday, and all these teams have legit stars. A team, of course, like Buffalo, even though Von Miller may not be there now, we have to see how that affects Buffalo moving forward. But clearly, we saw one of the best football games in the last 15 years in the playoffs between Buffalo and Kansas City, and the game basically was basically whoever has the ball last is going to win. You know what I'm saying? So it's just the AFC is so crazy that anybody can get knocked out, and that's in football in general. Now, I would say the Eagles, man, I would hate I hate to say that. I would hate if Kirk Cousins just had that game and it was versus the Eagles and he made it to the Super Bowl. It'd be like, oh my. Then you got to see him with the chains, and I don't want to see that foolishness. But yeah, I'm going to the Eagles and going Kansas City.
Yeah.
So I sense a lot of Kirk Cousins. This is like the second or third time we've taken shots at Kirk Cousins. I'm sensing that people don't believe in the Vikings and what their makeup and who they are. And then no one's talked about, even though we've mentioned a lot about the Eagles, no one's mentioned what the Cowboys are going to do. I mean, a legitimate team, but nobody talks about the Cowboys.
They have Dak Prescott as their quarterback, right?
Don't do it. Don't do
that. That answers that question.
But I mean, I feel like people been sleeping on Miami too, though. People didn't think Miami was gonna be as good as they were.
Tua's making it happen. That I just don't. Going back to Dak, though, I just think they're gonna find a way not to make a way. You know what I'm saying? I just feel that team has everything they need right now. You got Zeke back there. They got a really good defense. You got Dak playing at a high level, but somehow or another, that beauty. You know how you make somebody mix a cake. You ever see that? The first you can put all the ingredients in there, but the cake still come out flat. It don't taste just right. And that's Dallas for you. Dallas can't figure out how to make this thing work right, and they got everything down there right now. I just don't believe in Dak until he's hosting the trophy above his head.
Yeah, I get you. I get it. But maybe with an Odell Beckham, if he can get on the flight and if he can actually make it to Dallas, I mean, he may be that X factor they need. But all I got to say is, Jay, you know what it is.
You like that? You like that?
So you know that it's going to be – I'm just rooting for anybody to come out of the NFC Central. That's all. I'm happy that something's going on positive, and it's not the Green Bay Packers. So, Ken, tell everybody, how do they keep up with you? How do you get in contact with you? How do you follow you all the time for all the content that you do?
Follow me on all social media platforms at That's Davis. Check out That Davis Show on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe. Every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. you can find me, Josh Schrock, Alex Shapiro on the Under Center podcast. Every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. on NBC Sports Chicago. Again, that's where you see your Bulls, your Blackhawks, your White Sox. That channel, you can find us on that channel. Also, you can subscribe to that podcast and watch it on YouTube. That's basically where you can find me at for the time being, and I appreciate you gentlemen bringing me on. I hope all of you all had happy holidays and go into this year on a positive note, and that's for everybody watching the same thing.
Yes, sir. Listen, before you go, there is one question I need to ask you. We've been having this discussion and this debate at the Sizzle for weeks now. Now that it's after Thanksgiving, now you can give an unbiased opinion. If there's one thing on your Thanksgiving dinner plate, if something on that table that has to go going into next year, what is the one thing that you would say, sir, has to go off of that Thanksgiving plate?
So when we did this, we talked like this after the podcast the other day. All right, listen, and not saying it's bad, and I'm not saying the pie, sliced sweet potato, if that had to go, I wouldn't be upset. Now, look, she gets in the kitchen, she can cook. Like growing up, I really didn't like greens. I really enjoy her greens. They are tasty, right?
Okay.
If you want to take greens off the plate, I wouldn't fight you over it. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So those would be one of those two. Would probably. I don't care for stuffing. I like dressing. That's gonna stay. All right. The carbs. I'm gonna keep the stuffing over. It's the stuffing ain't that far from the greens, but growing up, I used to really love dressing. Not the stuff dressing. So really love the dressing. So it would probably be the sweet potatoes could come off of my plate first. Would be the answer because I can get that in the pie anyway. But it's just and it goes well. It mixes well with the stuff, but that can come off of my plate to answer your question.
Oh my God.
Okay, well, we've had this debate. We have a running tally, and mine was actually Jay's. His main thing has to be dressing. So you have to have dressing for Jay. For me, I don't have to have the dressing. That's my thing. I don't have now. I have to have. There are some staples I have to have, but dressing wouldn't be one of those ones.
Now, Ken, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take away his urban card just because he penciled what dressing. I don't understand that at all.
Yeah,
And the
you tripping.
kid, he didn't tell you. He didn't tell you this. Now he believes in baked chicken for Thanksgiving.
Who?
Greg.
Yes, I do. I believe because I have.
Is this
lot of people
alongside
make this up.
turkey, or is this in replacement of the turkey?
Oh no. This is aside from you got to have your turkey, ham, and then I said, oh, the baked dressing because we have family that makes amazing baked chicken. So that as long as that's a part, that's just one of the pieces that's there. So if I have to replace the dressing, then I replace it with baked chicken.
Bird. I saw more people. I saw Swagoo from ESPN. He had like 3 chickens, and I was like, people really out here eating chicken along with turkey like that? And again, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, like, for instance, I do the turkey. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now, since it's just the 4 of us, compared to like before when we first started doing Thanksgiving, I was taking care of my grandma and my great aunt, and she was making it for all of us. So we used to have a whole turkey. But when we would have a whole turkey and it was just us and the kids, it was too much. So I tried to fry turkey before, and the fryer didn't work, and it got to the point I was like, you know what, it's gonna blow up. I should just stop. So I returned it. They knew it was faulty because they took it without question. But what I did starting about 2 years ago, I think it's the 3rd year I've done it. We just get a turkey breast, which it's funny they call it turkey breast. It's the whole body cavity of the turkey or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
I fry that in the house, but I brine it to make sure that it's juicy and succulent.
Yeah.
So with me, if I'm getting tasty turkey, I don't need the chicken. You know, but if you're out there eating dry turkey, then you and I'm saying that's what you're doing, Greg. I'm not putting that on you, right?
Yeah, that's what he's doing.
No, it's not what I'm doing.
Dry turkey, I could see you needing something else because it's like, man, that turkey gets desert-like sometimes with how some people are cooking it. But yeah, for me, I'm good. Like my turkey game is strong, so I don't need another bird. You know, we only need one bird in this relationship. We don't need.
Hey, for real. Hey, eating a dry turkey is like eating a Popeye's biscuit. It's like, I mean,
that's a good one. That's a nice comp.
Yeah,
that's a nice comp right there.
Like,
deadly to say the least.
Yes, it is. But you forget, and Ken, you don't know. I have 3 sons, so Jay's not telling you about his nephews, and so we got to feed the 3 of them. I got in-laws coming in. Both my mom is now here with us, and my mother-in-law is always here for that. So you got a whole we got over 10, 12 people that come through the door.
Greg's in there.
Greg, you're not gonna do that.
Yeah, Greg's in there breaking out the pot pies and all types of stuff.
Whatever it is. Now, we've had brisket. We've had ribs.
I can live with brisket.
In fact, for Christmas, though, that's supposed to be, that's the thing. We're supposed to do Christmas. We're supposed to host Christmas dinner, not Thanksgiving. But every year, this is what happens. So Christmas, last year, we did this seafood thing. That was the first time we did crawdads.
That was probably good.
They did the crawdads, the crab legs, and it was scallops. So they did all that, threw it all. They had the broil in the bag, and we did all of that. But we got a lot of people to feed, so chicken has become the supplement, and it's easy to make, and you can put it on the plate, and then they can walk and go wherever they gotta go.
Sounds good.
I'm just saying. I mean, like this year, it was a lot of violence because we didn't have cornbread biscuits, and that cornbread, and we had rolls, but we didn't have the biscuits, and we didn't have the cornbread muffins. So then it got violent.
That's because you didn't have no dressing. That's what the problem was.
Yeah, you tried to substitute. You tried to substitute Mama's goodness.
Yeah, with that Jiffy mix you threw out there. That's what you did.
It wasn't even Jiffy mix. It was rolls. It was roll. It wasn't even Jiffy. It was just rolls, and they had them. And you know what? I'm not even.
You tried to do the broke man's dressing.
Look, he was serving cake for cornbread. We know what you was doing.
We did have some cornbread. We did have cornbread, but it wasn't muffins, and somehow around here that gets to be a volatile point when you don't have muffins. So
Ken, we enjoyed you, man. I mean, this was just fun right here. I enjoyed all this conversation, man.
Back at you. I really enjoyed myself, you all.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you coming on, man. And listen, don't be a stranger. Make this, because we need something to live. Somebody's got to get Jay Sizzle straight, because he just gets all out of control.
Hey.
He just gets all beside himself.
No, Jay's cool. Jay's cool. Look,
he's not cool.
Yeah. What's that?
I'll be back. I'll be back. Let's set this up around draft time.
Oh yeah.
Let's come back and see how we feel about the season and how we feel about, the draft or something like that. Because I would say I would come back sooner, but I hate to say it, they're gonna lose. I mean, for the most part, if Justin's out, it's a wrap.
You two are the most pessimistic. There is hope out there. There are people who want to see their children play. There is Cole Kmet. There's Cole Kmet. There's Cole Kmet, and
Look, even Justice Jackson, who always say keep hope alive, says ain't no hope for the Bears. You know what I'm saying?
This season's a wash.
My biggest thing, dude, for what? Here's my biggest problem. You get these high draft picks, and then what? We've seen these draft picks bust left and right in the NFL. Everybody's, we got the number 2, number 3, number 4 pick, and I'm gonna give that a big O. And they got to prove themselves. Look how many guys, these number 1 picks, number 2 picks, watched out of the NFL. There are no guarantees. Think about it. Did anybody think Patrick Mahomes is going to be who Patrick Mahomes was? Nobody did. You know what I'm saying? Nobody did. We passed on him ourselves. And then he turned up. We just don't know. You know what I'm saying? You get some of these guys, number 1 and 2 picks, and it's like, they do a Ryan Leaf for you. So what can we do? Anyway.
Some scouts down in Kansas City, nobody knew he was going to be the baby goat, but they knew that if Andy Reid got a hold of him, he can be great. I'll say this: outside of the Rams, because their owner just spent money, you build through the draft in the NFL. Your points as far as being bust, definitely they're busts, but it's the general managers who hit more than the general managers who miss and hit on players that are significant when it comes to impact and winning that really set your team up for the long haul. So there's going to be players that Ryan Poles misses on. The key is for him not to be like past Bears general managers and really the first round you always basically missed on. And then sometimes you may hit in the second and you hit hard in the third. No, you have to hit on your first round players. Let's just say you have 5 years in a row of first round picks, you really can only miss out max on 2 of them. You know what I'm saying? And that's max. You can really only, because you need that pipeline to keep your team with cheaper labor, because you can't afford to have an all-star squad with the caps in the NFL. So that's the thing where I understand where you're coming from as far as, but this is what teams do. And this is why with Ryan Poles, it made sense. The question is Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham great talent evaluators? And we will find that out.
Yeah. We're going to find that out. Yeah.
I don't have a problem. Jay, you have more of a problem with the draft and the way it unfolded the past draft. I liked what they did because I liked where they filled the holes. I did not care for some of the lineman choices that they made, but I thought it was a work in progress. But my thing is, if you're going to get a top pick, and I think, Ken, you had said this earlier, if you're going to get that top pick, you need to bottom out. I mean, why halfway do it? If you're going to do it, do it all the way. The only thing I see they could have done was trade David Montgomery this year.
Well, they could have
gotten you back.
What you going to get for him? Yeah, what you going to get for him? You get nothing for the running back.
For running back in his last year. Because, I'm not even dissing that. But you still had to have something. And at one point, how many of the leaders were they going to snatch out of the locker room? You know what I'm saying? Like that becomes an issue too. But yeah, that's all I have to add to it. Let me get my ass up out of here, man.
You know
bro.
who it is. You know what it is. It's the Sizzle here. Make sure that you've liked, subscribed, and shared, or make sure that you catch us Saturday from 8 to 11 p.m. on WGV 88.7 FM. And we will see you, our friends, on the other side.